Well, our bags are packed, and we're ready to head out on a new adventure. We're spending 3 weeks in Central Europe. We're flying through Chicago on our way to Frankfurt, where we'll be taking a train to our first destination, Nuremberg. Our flight to Chicago was smooth, and even though it was on a smaller plane, we were able to carry on our luggage. It was a bit of a hike to change terminals, but we have plenty of time, with a 3:10 departure. Unfortunately, after pushing back from the gate, we were told there was a maintenance issue, and we had to wait for a mechanic. We finally left at 5:15, arriving in Frankfurt at 8 a.m., leaving us with only 34 minutes to get across the airport to the train station. Thinking we still had a chance, we ran the whole way. Luckily, there were no lines in immigration, and we made the train with only 2 minutes to spare. Our ride to Nuremberg took us 2 hours and 40 minutes, arriving 20 minutes late. We're staying just inside the walls of Old Town, and we were able to check in even though it was only 11:30. Our first order of business is lunch. It was recommended for us to have the famous Nuremberg sausages at Bratwurst Glocklein. We were surprised that most of the stores and even the churches were closed for German Unity Day. But our plans are to head up to the Nuremberg Castle. But first we were able to enjoy the exterior of the St. Lorenz Church. As we approached the main plaza, we started to hear drums, as they were just finishing up the running of a marathon.
Es kann schon noch mal 1, 2, 3 Sekunden ausmachen, wenn die da richtig supportet. Da setzen die noch mal die letzten Energierisse ab.
So far, we've made our way along Königstrasse, passing in front of the St. Lorenz Church to Nuremberg's main square. And now we're heading up to take a tour of the Imperial Castle of Nuremberg. You're first greeted by a beautiful courtyard, surrounded by a mixture of stone and half-timbered buildings. The main halls of the castle are set up as a museum. Nuremberg was a hub for trade in the Middle Ages, with the castle dating back to the 10th century. One of the displays shows the evolution of the castle through its origins and then in the 1300s. The castle was heavily damaged during the bombings of World War II, and it was 30 years later before the structures were rebuilt. This is a double chapel that consists of 2 chapels, one over the other, connected by an opening, and was mostly undamaged during the bombings of World War II. Our next destination is the Sinwell Tower at 135 feet. It was built in the second half of the 13th century and also survived World War II. Our final stop is the tour of the Deep Well.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do for the beginning is pretty simple. It's our own little experiment. We're going to drop a little bit of water into the well. You just have to listen and count the seconds how long the water falls. And that's about it. So ladies and gentlemen, are you ready?
Yeah.
Very good. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1.
Here they were showing a video as they lowered some candles down the well. The well is about 164 feet deep, about 30 feet deeper than the height of the tower, and it took about 7 to 10 years to build.
What you just saw here was just a big fake, because that's a video from 2012.
After leaving the castle, the long day was getting the better of us. having only had whatever sleep we managed to get on the plane in the last 27 hours. Before heading back to the hotel, we stopped at a stand for another round of Nuremberg sausages. They were better this time, not as dry, and eating them on a roll seemed to be the way to go. We start the day back at the train station, where there are a lot of options for breakfast, and even market stalls selling meats and cheese. We have reservations for a free walking tour that starts at 11:30 in the central square. That tour was overbooked and had over 30 people crowded around the guide. So we bid farewell and ended up with a smaller tour guided by Victor, who is from Italy. He starts off with a brief description of the square's astronomical clock.
You can see there is a gold man. The gold man over there is Charles IV, the protagonist of this show. What we're gonna see at noon is a mechanic show that we have here in Nuremberg since 1509. More than 500 years of daily mechanic tradition. What you're gonna see, first of all, the whole statues around to him, 6, with the instrument, they're gonna pretend to play them. They don't do a really concert, don't expect that. A few seconds later, from the left door of him, they're gonna be open, and the 7 statues that represent the 7 prince electors, they're gonna go out and walk around to him 3 times. It's a show, to be honest with you, 3 times the same things. It's really simple.
There were a lot of locations where he would show pictures of the destruction during World War II, in which 90% of the city had been destroyed.
Okay, guys. Now, if you're wondering why we have solar clocks, sundials in a modern country like Germany, this is an old technology. We don't need to read the time. And also, to be honest with you guys, here is always cloudy. They never work. This, guys, is in honor of Nuremberg Middle Age solar clock production. Make the city famous, the sundials. For this reason, and nowadays there are like 37 around the city center, guys.
Victor told us that this is the most important street of Old Nuremberg, the Market Street, telling us this will be twice as crowded tonight when everyone's out for an evening stroll. Across the way is the Church of St. Lawrence. It is said that around the year 258, Deacon Lawrence was tasked with the overseeing of the treasures of the early Christian church. When the Roman Emperor Valerian demanded the wealth of the church, he instead gave away the treasures to the poor, demonstrating his dedication to the less fortunate. He was sentenced to death by being roasted alive on a gridiron. It is said that he joked with his executioners, telling them, "Turn me over, I'm done on this side." He is now the patron saint of cooks, as well as the poor and oppressed, and is often depicted holding a gridiron. These buildings along the Pegnitz River were originally built as a hospital and are now a retirement home and restaurant.
They would like get married, but the father of her didn't give the permission for economical reason. Poor family, him, rich family, she. Classic history of love, right? Rich and poor. For this reason, the father-in-law gave to him a kind of mission impossible for a young Schmidt. You should have to create a black ring of these sites located here around the Schönerbrunnen, but this black ring, despite the others, and look how many black rings there are, so many, you see? But all of them, how they are? Well fixed. Stop. He should have to create one free that people can turn. In that time, for a young Schmidt, it was a really challenge, hard job. But this guy, in your opinion, with the help of love, he got it, yes or not? What do you think, guys? Yeah. Yes, of course. And where is? He's here, the just one that you can turn. Free to move.
After leaving the central square, We headed back up the hill to the castle to hear some stories and take in the views, including ones of the Nazi Party rally grounds, known for Hitler's speeches. Known as the Hare, this strange sculpture of a gigantic rabbit is portrayed as having fallen and smashed open a wooden box, from which spills a horde of numerous tiny demonic-looking rabbits. After we bid farewell to our guide and head to his recommended restaurant to have a traditional Nuremberg lunch of pork schnitzel and crispy pork shoulder. After lunch, we visited the church of St. Sebaldus, the patron saint of Nuremberg. The legend is that the hermit Sebold could heal the sick, and was promoted by the Nuremberg City Council, as it brought pilgrims and money into the city. The church is Nuremberg's oldest, and along with most of the city, was destroyed in World War II and was eventually rebuilt. This covered bridge, called the Hankersteg, or Hangman's Bridge, crosses to an isolated island in the river. This is where the executioners and their families lived, since in the Middle Ages they were not allowed to have contact with honorable citizens. The Hankersteg was rebuilt after the flood of 1595, which destroyed the previous bridge. Still being full from our large lunch, we stopped in at a small bar and grabbed a couple of drinks before wandering the city at night. It was during this time we got a text that our tour in Bamberg tomorrow had been canceled since the guide was feeling ill. So we quickly did some research and downloaded a self-guided walking tour. Bamberg is just a short 45-minute train ride from Nuremberg and is known for being a beautiful medieval Bavarian city that escaped the ravages of the war. It was well worth spending the day. One of the unique culinary items that Bamberg is known for is their smoked beer. We weren't fans, but we did love their Jägerschnitzel, one of our favorite dishes. This area is called Little Venice, hence the gondolas. Making our way up the hill, we visit the Bamberg Cathedral. The cathedral was founded by King and later Emperor Henry II of the Holy Roman Empire, not to be confused with Henry II of England. He, along with his wife, are the only imperial couple to be canonized. Their tomb, proudly displayed, along with the tomb of Pope Clement II. Through this gate, called the Beautiful Gate, is the old court that contains the council chamber buildings. Across the way is the Bamberg New Residence. It's hard to tell from a distance, but these window facades are just painted on. Behind the buildings is the Rose Garden, with wonderful views of the city. Back in town, We stopped in here after seeing a chocolate mousse with cherry compote crumble on the menu. We split that, along with a plum brandy and a homemade ginger spritzer. Back in Nuremberg, for dinner we got our last Nuremberg sausage sandwich. This time we tried it with onions. It was a big improvement on already a good sandwich. Tomorrow morning we're up early to catch a bus to the city of Prague in the Czech Republic.